We were making out in my room, everything's getting hot, the good kind, so we take it to my bed, still lip locked. As soon as I put my back down on the bed, I got the worst feeling as she climbed on top of me. As her head tilted into position above mine, I felt a waterfall of saliva enter and nearly fill my mouth. From hers to mine. I tried to ignore it and keep mock-jaying out with this person, but my mouth was so full of saliva I didn't know what to do. So for about an extra 2 to 3 minutes I was making out with her awkwardly before we finally went further and unlocked out lips. We still had sex, and afterwards I never mentioned the spit data transfer that happened earlier. I think she knew, but we both didn't want to say anything about it because the moment we were having was so good. For a period of time, my nose would run every time I had sex with my wife. Apparently it's a thing called honeymoon rhinitis. There is erectile tissue in the nose that becomes engorged during sex. Not exactly the erectile tissue I wanted to engorge. Didn't he know I was celiac when I was younger? Took this girl out for dinner, had a burger. When we were making out at home I nearly threw up in her mouth. Instead I did on the rug. She helped clean up. We're married now. It's hard to describe, but we were walking slowly and she went in for our first kiss. My ankle went half on half off the sidewalk and I fell. We were holding hands, so I kind of dragged her off balance. It was summer and she was wearing sandals with a buckle on the side. She kicked her leg out to keep her balance. I was nearly already on the ground. The buckle caught my left eyelid. I bled like a stuck pig and got 2 stitches in my left eyelid. So I'm meeting this girl I'd been dating, had been going well. She's running a bit late cause of a march in town, so I get a coffee and a Twix. Few minutes later, she's there, and we kiss, and suddenly she pulls away and touches her lip. Did you eat chocolate? Yeah. Why? Immediately goes rummaging for medicine. Turns out she was allergic to cocoa powder and was about to swell up. Oops. She was spending the night with me, and while we were making out, she whispered the name of her ex, probably the most awkward moment of my life. LMAO. One of my first girlfriends. Didn't know if she was lesbian or not, and we hadn't really done anything sexual or romantic until that point, and she brought it up, so we decided we'd try and have sex. So obviously, like any gentleman, we started with foreplay. She fucking threw up on my lips while we were kissing. I'm glad we didn't get to the tongue part, otherwise I'd have died then and there. I don't comment much, but this is my time to shine. Me and my buddy went to a club in Boston. Chatted up a couple of girls and asked if they wanted to take a ride in his brand new Mustang. They said yes, and our 20-year-old minds exploded. I was in the back seat with one of the girls, and the combination of the engine noise and Def Leppard blaring on the stereo, this was the 90 Gamma S, drove us to begin making out. It went from light kissing to extremely passionate kissing, until my buddy hit a giant pothole at 80 miles per hour, thanks a lot Boston. My teeth collided with here. Broke her tooth. Like came out and into her mouth, which she nearly swallowed. So much blood. Between her panicked gamma pound what the fuck's yen and the tears, I didn't know what to do. I tried to kiss her again because somehow in my horny ass brain I thought it would calm her down, and the kissing was so good she'd forget all about the fact that her tooth had been permanently removed from her mouth. Nope. She demanded to be let out of the car. Who knows where? I offered to stay with her and get a cab or something, but she wasn't having it. She looked at her friend, who said, "Get home safe. I'll call you tomorrow." Uneasy face, have wondered for 22 odd years what happened to that girl. She was gorgeous. Lying in the park at the height of my adolescence with my ex-girlfriend. All happy and peaceful, we were kissing as the sun beamed down on this particular seaside town. A seagull shat on us. Landed on her hair, and my face. Killed the mood somewhat. Don't do PDA, kids. You ever get one of those surprise sneezes that come out of nowhere and you have absolutely zero chance to prepare for that? All over her face. The girl I was making out with had a ton of garlic for lunch, and the smell/taste was super concentrated, to the point it could make one gag. But I stayed strong throughout the 30 minutes make-out session. It was an experience. Yeah, this is embarrassing. So I was making out with this girl, and in the middle of the session, she faints, and I realize about 2-3 seconds later, and later on I found out she had narcolepsy. She literally fell asleep when we were seconds away from having sex. Guys, I stopped. By all means, I consider myself quite honorable. Don't get the wrong idea, please. I was in high school, just started dating this guy with braces. I walked to his home one day after school, we start making out, things were great, then all of a sudden blam, there is bacon in my mouth. I jumped up and he looked very confused, but not as confused as I was. I spit the piece of bacon out and he almost cried. He had it all stuck in his braces. On a first date, we were just chilling on her bed talking after the brewery part of the date. I finally worked up the nerve to kiss her, and a little while into making out I just started laughing. I kept thinking about the funny shit we had been talking about for the last hour or two. Apparently, that's when she realized she really liked me, and now we are planning our future together, many months later. So this wasn't a terrible thing, just super awkward. I started dating this girl. She was super shy, but very sweet. She was at my house and we watched a movie, held hands, that sort of thing. She has to go home though, so I walked her out and decided to go in for the first kiss. She was expecting it and was terrified of messing it up. So when I leaned in, she overshot her head and head-butted me in the nose. It hurt, but no blood or anything. This poor girl was so embarrassed I laughed it off, and we kissed. We got married 2 years later. I forgot that breathing was a thing, so into it, and suddenly realizing mid-pash and had to surface like I was fucking scuba diver without an oxygen tank. Guy leans in for a kiss and he kisses like a Labrador retriever. It was wet and slobbery and so completely disgusting I excused myself, went to the toilet and actually threw up. No more dates. Ugh. Probably a little late, but I took her home after school and we were kissing in the rain, BC Romance IG, and her dad opened the window and said, "Gamma pound, we're done here." Yen still can't forget that. Relaxed too much while making out with a girl I had been making the moves on for months. Farted super loud. She was horrified and disgusted by the smell. Then she started laughing, farted louder than I did, and proceeded to run out of the room giggling. I was appalled. I was disturbed. We celebrate 7 years in November. Well, me and a girl were trying to do a Lady and the Tramp type thing with a breadstick. Well, while trying to eat the breadstick, she bit and took a chunk out of the inside of my lip. It was bleeding pretty bad, but honestly it was very funny. Knocking teeth sucks. It was my first day of college orientation. I was at my girlfriend's house before she left for work. We're making out when we get a call from her mom to turn on the news. So the worst thing to happen while I was kissing someone is 9/11. So I went out on a date with the gorgeous girl, like I'm being serious. People had to look twice to take her beauty in. Anyways, after dinner I went to drop her off at her place and she invited me in. I happily obliged, and as soon as we got on the couch we just started making out. All of a sudden I taste blood. I think to myself, why? I open my eyes to recoup, and Lord and behold, I somehow managed to get a bloody nose and blood was everywhere. I'm talking all over this lovely lady's face, all over her lips. It was coming out of her mouth. She looked like she took a bite of raw meat. I quickly apologized and drove off. Now I'm dating her. I opened my eyes slightly and hers were wide open. You know those little white things you cough up from time to time? My first girlfriend and I were going to a religious liberal arts college that didn't allow couples to go off property together, and visiting my parents' house was the only way we could spend time off property. So we went home for dinner across town and we had driven separately. We were probably 18 to 19. We had this plan to meet up on the way back for our first kiss. It's probably 10 at night and we pulled over on this little side road and she came up from her car to my truck and I sat her on the seat and we got to mackin'. Then we hear gravel and we look up and there's a deputy pulled up behind us. He came up and asked for IDs because we had stopped in a high drug area. So I'm freaking out. Then a second deputy pulled up and he had a student from our college on a ride along. I was so sure we were gonna get kicked out. My brother worked for county at the time too, so I was sure it'd get back to him. They laughed at us and let us go. And GT, me lying down and GT, she's on top and GT, kissing and GT, she has a nosebleed. My first kiss, the boy left Dorito crumbs in my mouth. My dad mentioned him years later. Dad, you remember that boy you went out with when you were about 16? That kid was a dork. Me, yeah, the first time I kissed him he left Dorito crumbs in my mouth. Dad, uncontrollable dad giggles, I told you he was no good. I love my dad. I was wondering why it was getting so wet until we turned the lights on and realized I had a nosebleed that had covered both our faces in blood. Obligatory not a dude. So anyway, I'm lactose intolerant, but a stubborn one cause I'll eat cheese any day. Ice cream? Yes please. So I was on a date with this dude. I was hungry so I thought, hey look, this cafe serves nachos with cheese and pulled pork, sounds fucking amazing, let's order one. Apparently cheese in combination with alcohol did not make my stomach happy. By the end of the date I told him I felt sick and wanted to puke. We were at my front door, he kissed me, I almost puke, I pushed him away and told him to go home. Anyway, he's my boyfriend now. Shit my pants. Hooked up with this hot girl. We were making out, she paused and said to me, my dick is so hard right now. Haven't had too many bad experiences, but just some people that had a completely different idea of what a kiss is from me. One was completely wild and crazy, driving her tongue anywhere and everywhere. Also licking my face any chance she got, that got old instantly. The other never moved her mouth. It's always a peck, no matter how sensual the situation is/was. Just prolonged pecking. Zero passion. Not for me. When I was like 25 I was eating fries with my so and we decided to do the dog in love Disney style eat free and kiss. I bit my so lip to the blood. I got all fries to myself that night, and she wasn't angry, we laughed it off. Couple of years later with another girl we were eating sweets, chocolate puffs with vanilla filling and VM, and we decided to share last one with a kiss. Well, this time my lip suffered and I had blood all over my t-shirt. Good thing it was the last puff. She snowballed me. I wish I was kidding. I threw up. I'm not great at being physically touched. Not on her, of course. Just after. Never told her. I burped in their mouth. My whole year in grade 9 everyone made fun of me for it. Not necessarily gamma pound kissing yen, but ripped major ass once moving an ex-girlfriend over me switching positions during sex. Had a good laugh, she was cool about stuff like that. She almost broke my front tooth with hers and then bit the shit out of my lip on purpose. I was really mad and took her back to her car and left. A girl had a crush on me in college. We never dated, but she just visited me one day out of the blue. She asked if she could kiss me. It was awkward, but I agreed. So we kissed and she stuck her tongue in my mouth. I don't know what was wrong with her tongue, but it was bumpy and rough and just grossed me out. When the kiss ended, she was smiling and all aglow. I never wanted to kiss her again, and didn't he? I burped. My, now ex-GF was not impressed. All she would say for about 2 hours was, "You bastard. You bastard." It didn't help that I couldn't stop laughing. It's weird how many turns out he was a dude stories there are. First kiss with my first real crush, braces cut my lip. I remember this very vividly. We were just from having dinner and we were walking to her place. Everything was going splendidly and the date was perfect. Once we reached to her apartment, I went in for the kill. The kiss was splendid, but suddenly she let out a small fart. She was so embarrassed her cheeks were turning red. I looked around and saw there was no one. I simply told her, "Well, you can just let it all out. If anyone asks, I'll gladly say it's me." She dragged me into her house. She rushed into her bathroom and let out a huge one. Suffice to say, nothing happened after that. It was a good 1 year after that. I was 22 and it was my first ever real date. Throughout my whole life I was bad with girls until I started working at a restaurant. Some girls started noticing me and this one girl left me her number. I texted the number and she had tickets to see one of her favorite artists. The whole date was actually really fun and not awkward. Well, since I never kissed a girl, I didn't really know how to initiate a kiss. When it was time to drop her off, I told her I had fun and wanted to hang out again, and she smiled and glanced down at my lips while she said yes. Well, I moved in too fast and hit her lips in the most awkward way. SMH, then I didn't know how to fucking kiss, so I wasn't matching her lip movements and it turned out fucking horrible. I was so embarrassed and in that moment felt like I would never get a girlfriend or be a good kisser. Still makes me cringe to this day. During my literal first kiss ever, I had absolutely not clue what I was doing and just kinda pressed my lips onto hers without actually moving them in the slightest. It was weird as hell and I'm sure turned her off pretty quickly. I still cringe thinking about that one. I got nervous and let loose with a stinky fart. Luckily it was my wife I was kissing, and as she signed the contract she can't escape. /S